You said last night in the performance, you urged the audience to look for the presence within the poem.
Right.
What is that presence?
Yeah. I don't have any way to say what that is. You know, it's what we feel. Let's see. When we feel like well, Wordsworth said it, you know, and what he said, there's a presence that he was walking to Tintern Abbey, you know, and he felt this presence that rolls through all things. Sometimes we feel it out in nature. Sometimes we feel it in laughter.
Let's see what it is in another one of his poems. Here's one.
To praise is to praise how one surrenders to the emptiness. To praise the sun is to praise your own eyes. Praise the ocean. What we say, a little ship. So the sea journey goes on, and who knows where. Just to be held by the ocean is the best luck we could have. That's what William James called the oceanic feeling. That's the presence. It's a total waking up. Why should we grieve that we've been sleeping? It doesn't matter how long we've been unconscious. We're groggy, but let the guilt go. Feel the motions of tenderness around you, the buoyancy. Feel the motions of tenderness around you, the buoyancy.
But how does a Westerner, scientifically inclined, surrounded by technology, how does a Westerner approach poetry like this?
I think we all have a core that's ecstatic, that knows that looks up in wonder. We all know that there are marvelous moments of eternity that just happen, you know, that we know them. We can't say they don't happen, can we? I can't.
You use the word ecstatic.
Yeah.
Ecstasy is very central to Rumi's poems. What is ecstasy?
When I was a child in Chattanooga, sometimes in April, I remember, it was like 7 or 8 years old, and when that spring gold light would come at the end of the day, that's just there for about 10 minutes. You know what I'm talking about in the South? That gold time. I could hardly stand it as a child. I would lay down and hug myself. And I'd be there, and my mother and father would be playing bridge with the Penningtons, you know. And I'd look up, I'd say, "Mama, I've got that full feeling again," just laying on the floor holding myself, you know. And she'd say, "I know you do, honey." So, you know, I grew up in an ecstatic family, just living in this beautiful, gorgeous place in the Tennessee Valley. And around all of these ecstatic teachers, I had a Latin teacher that was just unbelievable. I mean, he would stand up on the desk and just scream, you know, "Young man, I love words."
When Jalaluddin Rumi spoke his poems spontaneously in Persian in the 13th century, there was always music nearby. There had to be. Because the poetry was part and the music were part of an experiment they did with the deep listening or sama. And that listening was meant to remind us of what a healthy soul feels like, what the opening heart might be, and what it is to access an intelligence within and perhaps without our personality. So it is good to have music close by. And you might even have a little Bach with the cello of David Darling. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I am so small, I can barely be seen. How can this great love be inside me? That's the question. How can this great love be inside me? Then he answers it. Look at your eyes. They are small, but they see enormous things. I am so small, I can barely be seen. How can this great love be inside me? Look at your eyes. They're small, but they see enormous things. People ask me how I got involved with the poetry of Rumi. How does a Presbyterian from Chattanooga get involved with the greatest poet of Islam in the 13th century? There are three strands to the answer of that question. One of them is very credible and involves my meeting with the American poet Robert Bly. He handed me in June of 1976, he handed me a volume of translations of Rumi, and he said, these poems need to be released from their cages. And what he meant was that they needed to be rephrased out of their stiff translationese language into something more kin to the great American tradition of free verse that has come down to us through Whitman and William Carlos Williams and Galway Connell. And so Robert, well, that was a writing exercise, but I took it as a different kind of thing. I felt like I was entering a new area and breathing new air. It's like I felt this sublime sort of relaxation come over me. And I used it when I got back home here to Athens, Georgia. I used it as a way to come out of my analytic thinking and talking every day, 3 classes. I would go, after the 3rd class, I would go up to the Bluebird Cafe in downtown Athens and order some hot tea and sit there and rephrase Rumi for about an hour on the backs of their ordering pads. The second strand of how I got involved with Rumi involves the way that we are led and get advised in dreams. On May the 2nd, 1977, I had a dream I was sleeping out, and I was not actually, I dreamed I was sleeping outdoors on a bluff above the Tennessee River where I grew up. And a ball of light rose off of Williams Island and came over me and clarified from the inside out. And there was a man there inside the ball of light. He had his head bowed, and he raised his head, and he said, "I love you." And I said, "I love you too." And I felt the landscape fill with moisture, as was natural. The dew was forming, but I felt the formation of the dew in my own body. And the moisture was love. A year and a half later, I met this man. You all can believe this or not. You know, I don't have that luxury because it happened to me. I met Bawa Muhyiddin in Philadelphia a year and a half later. And I would go up there and tell him my dreams. And I say, I would tell him the dream. He would say, "You don't need to tell me that. I was there." I don't know how that works, you know. But there are people who live on other levels of awareness than I'm on, anyway. So that is the second strand. I don't think that I would have much idea of what goes on in Rumi's poetry if I hadn't had that connection to Bawa Muhyiddin. The third strand that connects me with Rumi's poetry is more provable, I guess, and it involves a childhood joke that I didn't get until recently. I grew up on the campus of a boys' school. My father was headmaster, and I was a geography freak when I was about 6 years old. I knew all the capitals of all the countries in the Rand McNally 1943 atlas. And as I went across the quadrangle to dinner, teachers would call out names of countries, and I would yell back the capital. So they would yell Bulgaria, and I would say Sofia. And they would yell Uruguay, and the little smart-aleck kid would say Montevideo. I never missed, and this perfection went on until the Latin teacher, James Pennington, decided it had gone on long enough. He went down in his basement classroom and got a country that didn't seem to have a capital. And he yelled it out across the quadrangle. He said, "Cappadocia, Cappadocia." And he said, the look on my face when I went through my perfect brain and couldn't find it, named me. So from then on, he called me Cappadocia. And people still call me Cappadocia in Chattanooga or Cap. And I almost fell down a few years ago when I realized that the capital, the central city in that region of Anatolia was Iconium or Konya, where Rumi lived and is buried. So I didn't know, I still don't know the capital of Cappadocia. But so I was named for my ignorance, for what I didn't know, and I like that.